All right, I was a little worried today. We have Red Sox Now, presented by Fan Arch as always, but all these outages. I'm sure all of you experienced that. I tried to tweet something right away this morning. That did not work. If you see our lovely graphics, our graphics page was down, and thinking that we might not have Red Sox Now today. I knew we would have it at some point, but I don't know what was going on. Just as long as it's fixed. It is Red Sox Now. I'm Mike. At the radio Mike is my handle. We have, and I've taken a screenshot, we do have some comments from X that we will read today. One that we've got to. So you guys and gals have found me. I've noticed I can remember the handles. I can tell who's new. I think it's from daily being on here. If you are someone that comments every day, I absolutely love you. I love the community. We know that. When I do the comments, I always try to respond to everybody, as you know. But I try to read the comments from the new people. I can tell who's new. And we got 3 new ones today. So it's not personal if you're saying, geez, I comment every day. What in the world's wrong with that guy? Well, there's a lot of things wrong, but kidding. We'd like to get to the new people, and I will sprinkle in, and we'll do more. We'll do more, and we'll do Friday after Thanksgiving. Will be your show. Sidebar will be all yours. All right? Discord, hanging with Mike. I have that. I'll try to put the link in here if you guys want to get into that. I have a Red Sox MLB chat. If you know what Discord is, I think Discord's great. We can start that and it'll be all day interaction. Then we can do stuff on the weekend. I can do live shows on there. But hope you're doing great. Hope all of you are doing great. 4 p.m. deadline, as you see, to crunch that 40-man. I love the 40-man stuff, and that this is for the Rule 5. And if you have a guy picked in the MLB phase, you can pull someone back. So David Sandlin, according to Chris Cotillo, I don't think this is any breaking news. A virtual lock. And you'd have to have a 40-man roster spot cleared. I don't see Brandon Lowe coming back. I don't think it's a hard thing for the Red Sox to clear a 40-man spot. Josh Winkowski could be that. Giovanni Moran. There is a lot of options. Tanner Houck they're going to keep. I like that. I think he'll be a future reliever. With all of his arm injuries, I think it makes sense. Think about if Houck could be, with that stuff, if he could be another late inning guy, I love it. And we'll see if the Red Sox have any shakeup. Vaughn Grissom, 100% won't be back. I can tell you that from being in Worcester, he will not be back. I'm sure it's going to be a two-way street. I know that he was not thrilled at the end of the season, but he was not as good as Nate Eaton. You know, when Nate Eaton got the call with these other guys, he just wasn't. In terms of those other skills that you have to have, I think and players learn this. Not a great defender. Does not have a great arm. Tried him at first base. That was a disaster. Can't really play any positions. The Braves told him you're not a shortstop. I think he wanted a trade. He's not a shortstop. Played a little bit better there, though. But, again, when we're talking about keeping a 40-man roster player that's not going to be part of your 25, you do have to possess a multitude of skills. You guys know how I feel about Nate Eaton. J.P. Ricciardi said it all year. This guy should be in the big leagues. It's a shame. Why? The arm is beyond elite. He might have the best arm in baseball. Seriously. We have these metrics all the time during our games, and every time he would make a throw, there were these 3 diamonds that would pop up if it was a major league percentile. He would be in the top 5% sometimes with his throws. His speed, his defense, he can play third, short, second, left, center, right. He is an elite defender. So those are the kind of skills you have to have sometimes. Because you could argue with me, did Rob Refsnyder have a lot of those before he was called up? Position versatility, yes. He could play all three outfield. He could play second and first. Good base runner, not a great base stealer. Good hitter. Romy Gonzalez, position versatility. Pretty good defender in a pinch at every spot. Really good hitter for someone that's in AAA. Vaughn Grissom didn't hit much, didn't play great defense, not a great runner. So those are the things when keeping a 40-man guy. Now, so why would Sandlin be it? Because he can hit 100. Yeah, Mike, but you told us, he wasn't good in that new role. Well, he's a kid. I use common sense and logic. I know that's lost a lot. I had so many people messaging me about him. What's wrong with him? He's a kid. Think about it. Can we have to do this. Now, I'm in my 50s, but I still feel like I don't know, you can say I'm getting softer, or I just have more, I can put myself in that position. Like, think about what he was going through last year. He was a starter in AA. He got called up to us and immediately put in a reliever role. And all the talk was they're prepping him to go to the big league soon. I mean, he was very sped up. Our manager, Chad Tracy, said it was a lot for him. Learning how to be a reliever. He never done that. He had done a little bit, but just all of the, all right, you're going from AA to AAA, you're in the bullpen, 2 weeks you're in the big leagues. That's kind of what people were doing, and he just didn't take to it. It was hard. You could see it. The stuff, though, is ridiculous. And he is a one-inning guy. I think the Red Sox, they know. But you talk about another arm. We talk about this super bullpen. If the Red Sox were to bring in, someone else, like a Devin Williams or Helsley, like you could do that on 1 year, adding to what you have, and with Sandlin potentially, they are set up really well, with these arms. But he's a lock. Shane Drowan, I thought, looked really good. So for me, I'm in a different spot because being a broadcaster, and I do like to go off what I see. Because it's such a difference when you see guys in person. I'll never forget being on TV with J.P. Ricciardi, with Peyton Tolley. He had not seen Peyton Tolley. And the scout that J.P. is, I said to him on the air, "What do you think?" And he goes, "I'll tell you after the game." And after Tolley came out, he says his next start should be in the big leagues. And it was. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous how good he was. And we saw that with Sandlin. I don't think Shane Drowan would get protected. He was already Rule 5 by Chicago and returned. I don't see it. Hayden Mullins, pretty good. Yordani Monegro, Jetixon Paez, and Miguel Bleis is the one, for an outfielder. Does he get protected? This is a guy with a lot of skills. He's an outfielder. Born in 2004 too, which is nuts. Got up to Portland last year, and I trust me on this. That's on purpose. That's on purpose. Rule 5 guys, they push him a little bit more. Only 21. Still a baby. Did not have a great offensive year in Greenville, but don't go by numbers with these guys. They're still developing. He still had power. He's a really good outfielder. I don't know if that's someone the Red Sox will keep. I guarantee you he was someone they tried to trade at the deadline. You try to trade a lot of guys that are 40-man guys. Or you need to make a decision on. That's what the Yankees do. If you know you're not going to keep them, or you think you could potentially lose a guy, those are the guys that you trade. Also, this is another little common sense thing. A lot of the guys the teams ask for at the deadline, if they are in this spot where you need to protect them, they might say, you know what? I just had 22 executives like this guy. Let's think about this more. Maybe we should protect them. So this is fun. We have another, baseball day. It's a deadline day, and then Friday's the non-tender day, which they will with Houck. Okay, real talk. I think a lot of you know that we have an extraordinary community. I just, in Loomer Looney talk this, like with expectations. Many are, some are saying like, why can't we get Alonso, Bregman, Marte, Joe Ryan? Because you can't. Like, let's, I know there's that side of the spending, and people bring up to me 04, and like, I understand all of that. We are in a very, I think, fantastic, fascinating era of baseball. Why? I saw this. I talked to Ben Cherington. I talked to Ben Crockett about this in about 2012-13, the evolution of the young player. And it might have started before. Like, I remember when Strasburg debuted in Double-A, MLB.com carried the game. But in Bryce Harper, that's when things were like starting to get like ridiculous. I mean, Harper was 19 in Double-A. Now it's to the point, and a lot of you younger people, it's normal to you. What Roman Anthony did is not really normal 12 or 13 years ago. Mookie kind of did that in 14 for me. Ben Cherington was very aggressive. Now it's kind of, the big markets have adopted that with player development. And kudos to Theo. Theo brought player development to be cool. He changed the thinking, and he was trusted to do that. And all the big markets caught on. It was the money ball, and the A's were winning, running laps around all these teams. Right? They were. I understand their failures in postseason, but the fact was they found this formula when that wasn't work. Like, the small markets weren't even close, and then they got competitive, and then the big markets brought player development here. And that's the evolution we're living in. Now, I'm not opposed to anything if it makes your team better. I don't believe in the Band-Aid of just writing checks like Steve Cohen. I think for business, that can be good. I think what Steve Cohen did with Juan Soto was more about taking Juan Soto away from the Yankees, making them relevant, which is a thing. But baseball decision, $700 million for... It could be, and you're going to make money off that, but to me, it's not that. That's a trying too hard. Carl Crawford to me was a trying too hard move, and I said that at the time. I wish I had done this show. It was awkward. They outbid the Angels a ridiculous amount, and there was not good stuff about him. All of that research they did. I'll sell you a bridge in Brooklyn, because I know a lot of people who told me you got one of the worst guys. This is not a player that's going to succeed here. I had a lot of people told me this, and they told me when he was in rehabbing, and I liked him. He was great. But I don't want just doing things for the wrong reasons. It's still going to be the right reasons. You know what I mean? And I think with how you can build now is different. Right? I mean, I think about when I was younger, you'd be lucky to have one guy come up from Pawtucket. Now, we're seeing guys start the season. Look what Toronto did. Low A. Now that's extreme. Schlittler, Double A. And then being a major piece. Connolly Early, Peyton Tolley, Roman Anthony. Major contributors the same season. Right? So I think at one point, spending ridiculously because you needed to fill players was because player development had not caught on yet. And the player, this is kudos to the player. The player is better. The players are better. Roman Anthony looks like, an all-star. Jarren Duran's not that old, if you think about it. There were times where you would be in AAA almost till 26 and get to the big leagues at that age. So the landscape of player development and philosophies, it is changed. Now, yes, some of it for some teams is we want to move these guys up because we want to control them in the big leagues because we're going to lose them. But I just think that the big markets have now adopted, like, you think about this. In years past, going out and spending for a ridiculous amount for a pitcher made sense and still does to some degree. But the Yankees, I mean, they have a guy that is going to be in their rotation that's going to be minimum salary, and he could be one of the best pitchers in baseball. Connolly Hurley, a min salary, already showing signs of being, a 3, 4, 5 starter. That's where everything has changed for me. That you can build that way because of the players are better. Still not opposed to spending money, but I don't believe and agree with just blindly spending because you're the Boston Red Sox. I don't want that. You know what I like? The 75 Red Sox. You know who told me this years ago? And I think I've shared this with you before. I spoke to Fred Lynn at Hadlock when I was with the Sea Dogs. After a batting practice, I did an interview. And we talked about, I said the younger players. He goes, I get this question all the time. Player development was not new now. It just went away for some reason. Look at our team in 75. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Fisk, Yaz, Rice, Lynn, Evans. Homegrown. A lot of homegrown players on that team, right? That's what I want. Isn't it exciting when we have our guys, our core that are good? Right? I think the mindset has shifted, though, because Theo wanted to do this, and he got roasted. His dream was to have 9 of 9. And he, in his book, I read his book, Feeding the Monster. He said, I'll never be allowed to do that here. It's changed, right? 20 years. I think all of you are, look at what you think of Duran. Look at what you think of Anthony. Look at what you think of Rafaela. Abreu's somewhat homegrown. Meyer. Narvaez. I mean, I know you traded for him, but the younger players in your mind, you love these guys. So what I like is what they're doing and then filling in the blanks with spending like the Bregman, even though it was $40 million. Crochet, Chapman. You don't have to go out and get 3 or 4. So let's try to understand that. I think a lot of lasting impressions of the playoffs gives us maybe a sour taste. You had no Roman Anthony, you had no Abreu, you really had no, Nathaniel Lau. So can they sign Alonso Bregman? Sure. I don't know if that's going to happen. And I don't know if it will be because they don't want to spend. It could just be fit. It really can be. It can be other things. I don't see Alonso Bregman and Marte and Joe Ryan. That's just, no one's going to do that. And you can, the Dodgers, yes, maybe, but I don't know if they would even do that. They are different. They have a country cornered, as we've talked about. They still have a player development system that is off the charts. And you are trending this way. There was a great bounce back season, and you have a foundation and you have a core. So again, I'm not against anything. I just don't agree with just blindly spending makes you better. You still have to have guys that perform. I still want arms. If the Red Sox signed Merrill Kelly for 1 year and didn't do anything else, I think you would be disappointed. But would that be that bad in reality? If say they went and got Alonso and Bregman and then did Merrill Kelly on short money, because you're talking $500-600 million on 3 players, maybe more. That might not make sense with how the game is structured, because you have younger guys that you're going to have to give. That's the issue. That's the other thing. Younger guys are better. They're going to cost you more up front. What Roman Anthony got in the deal, even Rafaela and those guys, that did not happen. That's kind of what the Braves adopted. Let's pay our guys now to keep them intact. It wasn't really a fear of losing them. Atlanta's got money. It's like, they want to build stability. That's actually what I'd like more, and I still think that takes time, and I don't know if they're completely where they want to be with that. And I'll close this out where really it's just about making the decisions that make you better. Arguments for both. They should have spent here. I agree. They shouldn't have spent there. I agree. Roman Anthony looks like a $30 million, if not more, a year player. Duran, what he did 2 years ago. I mean, I know last year's average was down. Strikeouts were up. Even Rafaela. Those guys, what they're making, you might not be able to find that. A Gold Glove center fielder who hits 250 with 18 home runs is still going to be about $20, $25 million, if not more. If you didn't have, think about this. If you didn't have that, and outfield defense was an issue for you, you have to pay. It's a tax. That's what happens. I just don't want people to be let down if they don't do 3 or 4 moves of major volume. All right, so the Red Sox are not expected to let Tanner Houck go. They're not, which means he'll get 3.9 for this year. He'll stay on the 40-man. That's someone they believe in. They did the same thing with Patrick Sandoval, and I'm all for that. I know him personally. He's an amazing human being. I don't know if you know the story about he does this charity for, he works with adoption agencies. He's got his own foundation because his sister was adopted, and he always said, I will want to give back to this. And he has a strikeouts for adoption. He's a great human being, great stuff. He's been through a lot. He's been through 3 or 4. I mean, all the executives, everyone kept saying, you're a starter, you're not a starter. He was yo-yoed so many times, and I feel like they've communicated well with him. And I know I've talked to him about this too, and he's in a good place. I mean, I know last year was not good for him, but I do think at the end of the day, when he comes back, he'll be a reliever, I feel, and be a solid contributor. That's still too good of an arm. All right, let's wrap it up with comments, which we always do if you know the format. We're going to get to Thomas off X. Let me tell you, I wouldn't be disappointed if the infield was Bregman, Story, Brandon Lau, right? No, it's, J-Lo and B-Lau. That's how Brandon Lau. But Lau was given that qualifying offer by the Rays. They exercised it. But that would be, I mean, you're talking about a power guy, and then Casas at first, and maybe Akamoto. Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of what we don't like is unknown. It really is. And I understand, and I actually understand that. That is your job as a fan to question things. Because you don't see the guys coming up like maybe I do, or maybe like Breslin. Like the intel that, it's just like common sense. And you all know this. It would be impossible for fans to be that locked into players the way executives were. That's their job. The amount of time they spend, it's crazy. How much they're spending watching, talking to the minor leagues. The plan for Early was to go up the whole time. We just didn't know that. I checked in on this. I didn't know that. I had no idea that was what, usually when you get to AAA, you have a pretty good indication. But I thought, it was more about Tolley. But Early was somebody that they had been really on all year. We didn't know that. Right? So when you don't see it, it's hard to like it. I will tell you this. I wish I made a list of this. I used to do a show in Portland, Maine every Saturday. I remember somebody calling my show and telling me that you are way overselling Mookie Betts. And I said, okay, that's fine. You don't have to listen to me. I'm in it. He's going to be an all-star. I mean, and listen, I don't fault that person, but I mean, I'm there. And this was when Mookie was still with us, like it's still playing in Double A. Can't see it yet. And you're afraid to commit to that. I'm not. I don't care if I'm wrong. I will say yes, definite. And I got over the years. Wait till you see this Devers guy. These are not hard guys to figure out. Trust me, I've said this. If any of you were with me for road trips, like if you sat in the booth with me for 3 games, you'd be like, yeah, Xander is really good. He is. It's ridiculous. Yes. He's like, it's not that hard. But the unknown, there's uncertainty. Really? We're gonna put Mookie in the outfield and put him in the big leagues after he played second? Yes. Yes, he can do that. But that's their job. So when there's a lot of unknown with players, and we always, and that's I mean, I did that growing up. That's what, I get why people are down on Casas. He's been hurt. He hasn't, but could he potentially be maybe as good as Alonso? I think so. I saw Alonso play in the minors. He was, he's not great defensively, but he can hit. He can hit. But I think there's a lot of lasting impressions from what we just saw that makes us skittish about things. The power thing is really in our head because of that lineup at the end, which had no Anthony, which really didn't have Abreu. And I didn't think Nathaniel Lowe really did much. That will all get fixed. We didn't, if you think about it, kind of rewind your brain to when Anthony was playing, we weren't talking about the lineup at all. The lineup looked worse in the playoffs, which it still could have without injuries because in short series, you're facing elite arms. Dodgers didn't hit in some games. A lot of teams didn't hit in the playoffs. It's going to look different. But I think our lasting impression of the club is the lack of a lot in that Yankee series, which I don't think will be the look. At Quentin Gauthier, this is a great one, Quentin. I know you're new, too, because I haven't seen you comment. I want Brandon Woodruff in my Red Sox rotation, most underrated free agent available. Again, that is as perfect as an example of what I'm just talking about. And I actually didn't plan it that way. I think the Brewers are expected to keep him. That's from what I've heard. But you are right. You are absolutely right. And it's a lasting impression. People are going to say he was hurt. He missed 24. He's been hurt a lot. I don't care. That is an arm that is a elite top of the rotation pitcher. Every single pitcher on the planet is going to have some injury. We're expecting every single starter that's available to be unbelievably durable, right? And what's interesting about that? The one guy that kind of is, no one wants, and that's Framber Valdez because of, there's some stuff about him off the field and not being a good teammate, which I go back and forth with that. I don't really care about that, to be honest, because I always feel like there's so many different sides, and I know Cora has a relationship with those guys. He knows. They have the intel there, with Bregman and Cora. They know all about Valdez. And it could be, and I've been around guys who are like, oh, that's just Framber. He just, I know he showed up as catcher, but it could be, he just is more sensitive. I don't know him, but you're talking about 4 years of 28 plus starts for Valdez, and that's someone we don't want. That's a pretty durable arm. I think he's getting a boatload of money. I really do. I think a 4-year deal, 5-year deal. That's a left-hander, top of the rotation pitcher. Big game guy. He's been in a lot of big games. But you're right on with Woodruff. And I think the Brewers know that. Okay, our final comment will end the show. It's at digits-n F9 Foe. I'm good with your strategy of pitching emphasis, provided defense remains on the uptick. Yes. And the speed and plate discipline is further encouraged. Yeah. But I do feel like if the Red Sox signed Bregman and just went for pitching and stayed pat, that would be disappointing for people, which is confusing to me. You just saw it in postseason. And Garrett Cole's coming back. Okay? You got to outpitch. You got to sometimes read the room. Toronto is pretty good with arms. They got Bieber. They got that kid back, Yasevich. Right? That's, so you read the room. You're not beating the Yankees with Pete Alonso in a short series if you don't have other arms. You're not. It's just not happening. They strike him out. I mean, it's a lot of swing and miss. So we'll see what happens. I am not really one way or the other. I'm okay with them just signing Bregman and working on pitching and keep Casas. I really am. Or Romy. I know that that's not the answer a lot of you want. I just think it's a sexy Alonso 45-50 home. I'd like it, but if it doesn't happen, it's not going to be the end of the world for me because I feel like they will figure out, and they've got that figured out. I'd like it. I mean, in some sense, but it wouldn't. I'd be more upset with Bregman because of a position of, I think, value. I value third more than first. And I value defense and pitching more than home runs. And I still think you got it. And I told some of you on the chat, I mean, we have not scratched the surface. I'm going to close with this. We know how good Roman Anthony is, but I don't think some people fully realize that this guy could be a 40 to 50 home run guy. I really believe that. He's that type of player. He really is. He's got immense power the other way. He's going to start hitting balls to left field that you're going to you won't believe. I saw him hit 2 balls into the wind at Polar Park, 420 in April. It's ridiculous. And I'll make another, okay? With everything that, I know the season didn't end the way we wanted last year, but I'm going to tell you this. We are living through a guy like Roman Anthony and maybe some of these young arms and the young core that they have. This is going to be I feel like the 75 Red Sox reincarnated with this young core. I really believe that. All right, hop on with your comments. Subscribe to the channel as we soar towards 3,000 subscribers. We're about 700-800 away. We'll get there. I know we will. We'll grow this. And all of you that were on, with me right to the start, love having you for the ride. We'll do it Wednesday. Red Sox Now, presented by Fan Arch. I'm Mike. And as always, go Sox.